In this video, we're going to look at 6 lessons from Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It is an amazing book if you want to improve your communication skills, your negotiation skills, and your ability to persuade people, which is pretty much everybody in modern day life. So definitely check it out. Be able to summarize a person's point and say it back to them. This displays that you're listening to what they're saying, and it makes sure that you're listening to what they're saying. This is a great technique, and I use this every day in my job as an account manager. I say back to people what they say to me, right? So they'll describe a problem, for example, in their business or a challenge that they have, and I will repeat it back and I'll say it back. And they'll say, that's right, that's exactly what I said. Shows that I'm listening, and it builds rapport. And you'll notice that other people sometimes will say, oh, interesting. They'll hear this one side, 1 minute, a couple of sentences from somebody, and they'll just reply, okay, got it, or okay, interesting. And you can kind of almost feel that the other guy has felt like a kind of slap in the face because the other person's clearly not listening. If you just say interesting, it feels like the person's just ignored everything you said. A much better way is to quickly summarize the point or, continue the conversation in some way. You must find out what the person wants. Everybody wants something different, and a lot of the time we just don't ask, right? And that is the huge power of discovery questions. But of course, you can ask so many different questions. You really want to ask the right questions to find out, what do you value? What is it that you're trying to get, right? And if you tell me that, I can figure out a way to provide it, and I can, help you find a solution, right? So find out what the person values. And everybody's value may be something different. One person may want a specific return on investment. The other person may want more control. Other person may want ROI. Other person may want status. You don't know unless you ask. So you have to ask and find out what the person values. Ask questions instead of saying statements. Nobody likes when people say what they should do. If I just tell you the marketing strategy, you should be doing this SEO thing, you should optimize your site, you should do this, you should do that, this is what you should do, why aren't you doing it? Right? Nobody likes to be taught that way. Instead, people have to make their own decisions. This is also related to, in 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. He says that you can't really persuade people to do the right thing by just telling them to do that. They have to come up with it themselves. And the way to do that is to ask questions. So instead of saying what somebody should do and, saying this campaign, you should do this campaign, instead you should ask them what campaigns they would like, right? You should ask them questions that in the end guide them towards good outcomes that you want. So this is what Chris Voss calls calibrated questions. Instead of saying you should do the Facebook campaign, I'm going to ask you, what are you doing on Facebook? Right? How are you using Facebook to aid the promotion? Right? I'm going to ask questions that lead towards doing Facebook campaigns. I'm not going to say do the Facebook campaign. I'm going to ask questions because questions are more effective than statements. It is not what somebody says, but it is why they said it at this time. Why did the guy start complaining at this specific moment? What does he want? Why does the person say, oh, there's 50 people looking at this property? Why did he say that now? Right. It's not what he said, it's why he said it. We have to look for the hidden meaning underneath the words all the time. The landlord, recently I was looking for a place to rent in London. Landlord said, we have 60 people having an appointment for this flat. 60 people. Right. And I was like, wow, my God, 60 people. And then later that day I was thinking, why did she say that at that time? Obviously, create scarcity. And the funny thing is, the next day after my viewing, she called me back and said, am I interested? If she had 60 people, I guarantee she would not be calling me back, right? So that was a great reminder of the lesson. It's not what the person says, it's why they said it at that specific time. How am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to do that is a great way of saying no without saying no. You can say all the reasons why and then say, how am I supposed to do that? And he says this is a kind of forced empathy, right? And you can use this to say no to, different offers, right? So, oh, thank you so much, and, thank you for reducing my broadband bill, from £100 to £20. I really appreciate it, but, I'm tight for money and I'm very sorry, but I can only afford £15 right now. And, I appreciate your offer of £20, but how am I supposed to do that? When my budget is 15. It's a forced empathy. I'm forcing the person to, think my way through it. And I'm making it seem impossible that I can do what is asked of me. So how am I supposed to do that instead of saying no? Start with an accusation audit. So confront all of the worst possible outcomes to show that you're not one of those outcomes. Example. It seems like you may think that I've come here today to simply take your money. You may think that I'm being dishonest. You may think that I haven't really prepared anything. And you may think that I'm here just to make a quick buck. So you see, I've laid out all the worst possible outcomes that they may not even think. When you do the accusation audit at the beginning of a negotiation, especially when you're going into a hard situation, it can remove any tension because these are all obstacles that the person will be thinking of anyway, right? And unless you confront these at the very beginning, these are going to break the deal, right? So this is also similar to, what Jordan Peterson again said, which is confronting difficult conversations, because if you don't confront them, they're going to be thinking of it anyway. So it's best to do this accusation audit, say all of the worst things that they may be thinking right at the beginning and clearing the table first. Start with an accusation audit. So if we're going to do a flowchart of the steps of a negotiation and never split the difference, here's something like what I think it would go. First, summarize the situation. I've come here today to talk about this contract deal with you. We talked previously. I talked a little bit about our products before and you agreed you were interested. And that's why we're here today, to find out a little bit more about it and to proceed the talks forward. Next, do the accusation audit. You may think that our prices are a bit high. You may think that we're trying to make a lot of profit out of this. You may think that I'm just trying to sell you something in this meeting, and all of this. Ask questions to find out what the person values. So what challenges are you facing today? What are the key projects you're working on? What are we trying to achieve out of this meeting today? How can we proceed this further? How can we help you get this thing that you want? Next, summarize back to them what they say. So it seems like you want to increase your profitability by optimizing your marketing spend on your paid advertising channels. Next, make your offer and make it around 60%, he says, of what you actually want to pay. So if you want to buy something and you're willing to pay about £100, that's your target, you'd actually bid, you make an offer of £60, right? And then you'd work your way up eventually, but you'd be pretty hard about it. But he says this kind of 60% rule is pretty good. And finally, if things are not going your way, you want to ask, how am I supposed to do that? You want to complain and all of these kinds of things. So, I was talking to my broadband provider and I have been, saying that I can only pay like £22 per month, right? And, I don't have any more money than that. So how am I supposed to pay more than that when there's other solutions on the market which are available for £25, etc. So how am I supposed to do that? So these are some of the lessons that I learned from Never Split the Difference. Very interesting book on negotiation. I am not an expert on negotiation, but I found it very cool to read. A lot of stuff that is applicable to sales, persuasion, and generally communication in general. My favorite point was, of course, the active listening bit, which I think we could all use more just to really understand what people are saying. Just by really listening to what people are saying and repeating it back to them, that has made a huge difference, I think, in my communication. So definitely try that out. So Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Definitely check it out. This video, we're going to be looking at 6 lessons from Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.